For over a decade, the sound of new cement plants coming online was really the soundtrack to Nepal's growth. It was all about ambition, rebuilding, progress. But that sound, it's fading. Today, the industry is staring down a severe crisis of oversupply, and it's setting the stage for a dramatic and frankly unforgiving restructuring. And that quote, it just nails it. The party, this relentless debt-fueled expansion, it's over. What comes next is going to be a difficult, almost Darwinian reckoning for an industry that simply got too big, too fast. So how on earth did we get here? How did a decade of what looked like unstoppable growth create this economically lethal bubble? Well, the answer really lies in two starkly contrasting numbers.
Okay, first up, 25 million tons. Now that's the total installed production capacity of Nepal's entire cement industry. It's a staggering figure, built on years and years of optimistic projections and, let's be honest, easy credit.
And then you have this number, just 9 million tons. This is the actual domestic demand for cement. It's a number that is totally plateaued, way earlier and way lower than anyone in the industry ever expected. Now, this slide visually captures the core of the problem. Just look at that massive gap on the chart between capacity and demand. We're calling it the lethal surplus. And it's not just some abstract number. It represents idle factories and crushing fixed costs that are pushing the entire sector right to the brink of collapse. This surplus is a textbook case of what economists call malinvestment. See, instead of building a few strong, globally competitive champions, capital was just poured into creating over 60 separate and often inefficient companies, all of them fighting for the exact same limited domestic market. So the crucial point is that this massive overcapacity has triggered a brutal price war. It's what you'd call a red ocean scenario, where companies are forced to slash prices, not for profit, but just to generate enough cash flow to service their debts. It's a race to the bottom, and it's destroying value for everyone involved. Now, if this internal crisis wasn't enough, it's being dramatically shaped by a powerful external factor. A single certification has effectively become a great filter, and it's dividing the industry into two very distinct groups: the potential survivors and the likely victims. So the obvious escape route from the domestic price war is the huge Indian market right next door. But there's a catch. Access is gated by the formidable Bureau of Indian Standards, or BIS certification. And this isn't just a simple quality check. It's a strategic barrier. Navigating it is a long, expensive, and difficult process that, frankly, many companies just can't afford or complete in time. And this is where you really see the divide that BIS creates. It's splitting the industry right in two. On one side, you've got a handful of certified exporters who have a lifeline to India. They can run their plants at higher capacity, and they're pretty much insulated from that domestic price war. And then there's everyone else, trapped with vanishing profit margins. For these trapped companies, the biggest risk isn't even immediate bankruptcy. It's something slower, more insidious: zombification. They make just enough money to pay the interest on their loans, but they're not profitable enough to invest, to innovate, or to grow. They're operating, but they're effectively dead, generating no real economic value and becoming prime targets for acquisition. So you can see where this is going, right? This two-tiered, zombie-filled structure is completely and totally unsustainable. And that brings us to the cold, hard economic logic of the only possible outcome: a massive wave of consolidation. When you boil it all down, this is a story of fundamental economic principles in action. The industry is suffering from what we call the diseconomies of fragmentation, just too many separate companies with redundant overheads. The winners are going to be those who can achieve economies of scale, the giants whose massive modern plants give them an unbeatable cost advantage. So, if you're one of those large, efficient players, acquiring a weaker rival is a ruthlessly rational move. Think about it. You can shut down their inefficient factory, absorb their market share, get control of valuable limestone mines, and, by removing a competitor, help stabilize the very prices that were driving everyone toward ruin. It just makes sense. So the big question is, what will the Nepali cement industry actually look like after this consolidation tsunami sweeps through? We believe a new three-tiered landscape is going to emerge from the chaos. At the very top, you're going to have 5 to 7 apex predators. These are the large foreign-invested players and the BIS-certified Nepali giants. They'll be the acquirers. In the middle, you'll have about 20 mid-sized firms with good assets but no scale. They'll be the acquired. And at the bottom, these small grinding units with no real competitive advantage, their business model just isn't viable anymore. They'll simply go extinct. And this brings us to the critical takeaway of this whole analysis. This impending wave of mergers and acquisitions, it isn't the crisis, it is the cure. It's the painful but absolutely necessary market correction for years of malinvestment. So the key policy question isn't how to save every single company. The real question is whether to facilitate this essential consolidation. Will policy enable a swift recovery, or will it try to prolong the sickness by protecting failing firms, allowing the entire sector to languish for years to come?